Welcome into the Vegas Squares podcast, where we discuss all things sports and sports betting. Presented by 12 Ounce Sports Radio. All right, welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here in studio, myself and Token Tony. And we've got a pretty packed show. We've got a lot of things to talk about here. Welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. We want to thank our sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, which you are listening to us on right now. We are aired on 12 Ounce every, I get this wrong every week. Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Sounds about right.
Mondays we're on at 8 p.m. Eastern. Today, you're hearing us right now, which is, 7 p.m. Eastern. Saturday mornings we're on at 11 a.m. Eastern, and Sunday mornings we're on at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're all over the board. What's up, Tony?
Not much. Just happy to be here after a good college football weekend and NFL weekend. So
yeah, I was not here for the NFL recap show, but it sounded like you guys got a couple of points back on me.
Yeah, it was a very tough card this week, and
it was.
I think me and Spike came out pretty good, and you kind of struggled.
I came out okay. Having to be forced on Raiders money line hurt a little bit because I think I lost 4 points for the week.
Something like
that. And 3 of it was on the Raiders money line.
Yeah,
so.
But you said your other lock, that would have been what we lost.
My lock would have been Miami would have lost as well. So, yeah, you're right. But Miami, how do you blow that 17-point lead? Like, I understand you're on the road, but
I have no idea.
Good Lord. We also want to thank our other sponsors, ChaiPoker.com and VGK Pop Sockets. Give those guys a follow on Twitter. Also, Chai Poker has a charity event coming up. I know we don't have any information on it yet. We just want to keep letting you know that is available. And I know it's on December 1st, so if you'll be in the Las Vegas area around that time, as soon as we get information, we are going to be handing that out to you as well. We got a jam-packed show. I don't want to waste any time because I know at the end of the show we're going to be talking to Chris Moon again about his baseball picks because I believe he's free-rolling.
I believe so, yeah.
I believe he got exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, it sounds like.
We'll have to talk to him about it when we – because I can't remember exactly what I know he had the Red Sox. I know he had the Astros. And I believe he had the Brewers. So if worst-case scenario, I don't think he had the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So worst case, I think he got 3 out of 4. So
that's still pretty strong.
Pretty strong indeed. All right, well let's open up right now. There's a couple games on the NCAA docket that we want to talk about. One of them starting very soon. Texas Tech at TCU. A couple of teams who have been very up and down this year. Not sure what to make of this line. 7.5 currently as it stands. The game getting ready to start here very soon. Texas Tech at TCU. A pretty decent defense against an offense that can explode at any given time. What do you make of this?
In this spot, I kind of like Texas Tech plus the 7.5. I believe TCU's going to win this game. I believe Texas Tech makes it pretty close. Maybe this game could go to overtime. TCU wins by about a field goal, so.
Yeah, both teams. A lot of people have looked, down on TCU. Still a strong team right now. I don't disagree with the analysis. Most of the time, I usually would sit there and favor home teams in a spot like this. But Texas Tech in Lubbock doesn't have to go too far down to Fort Worth. This isn't a huge travel game or anything. And what really will be interesting to see is what quarterback starts for Texas Tech in this spot. This line has been bet down from 8.5 where it opened. Freshman, I can't remember his name, got hurt, I believe. I can't remember. Bauman. Yeah, he got hurt. What day was it? Against the West Virginia game. And I'm not sure if he's going to be playing this week. He is expected to play, but, with a collapsed lung, anything is possible.
Yeah, that would be very difficult to even put on pads at that point.
Right. If he does play, he is completing 70% of his passes, 1,680 yards, 11-3 touchdown interception ratio. Also, they have a really good running attack with Tajon Henry and what's his face? I forget the other guy's name, but they have
Anderson?
18 rushing touchdowns on the year. Not too freaking shabby. It's an interesting spot here. What's the total in this game?
61 is what I see.
61 seems like this could be a super shootout. I don't really know if I like the total because I feel like TCU could probably run away with this game because usually I err on the side of defense over offense because Texas Tech's offense is still halfway decent. Even though they didn't look that good against Iowa State, committed 3 turnovers and couldn't reach 300 total yards. They were 13 of 22 on third and fourth down last week and had a really strong defensive effort. I'm just going to take the other side just for a nice little fun sweat. I'll take the 7. Oh. And I'll lay the 7.5 points, and I'll take TCU just for the fun sweat. I'm going to say that this game goes over as well. I'm going to say it's like
that's what I was thinking.
40 to 30, something along those lines.
I was thinking 37-34, something around there.
Fair enough. And we'll have a nice little friendly wager on that spot. Let's look at the games that they're playing tomorrow. USF 5-0, undefeated team, hasn't quite cracked the top 25 yet, but I imagine they should here real soon. They are currently a 7-point favorite going on the road to Tulsa, who is not quite the Tulsa that used to be 1-4 overall, 2-3 against the spread. But Tulsa on these late night games in the past has been able to kind of play spoiler in some spots.
Yes, I definitely agree with that statement there. Although USF is 5-0, they're 2-3 against the spread. Same against the spread record as Tulsa this season. I don't know. I think Tulsa is going to play spoiler and make this one very close, whether they lose by.
Calling for the upset?
I'm calling for the upset.
Holy cow! Wow, good on you. I mean, I'm rooting for that. Obviously, as a UCF fan, I don't want. Well, you know what? That's not not essentially USF true. Yeah, well. I would like to have USF be undefeated going into that Black Friday game, and then just lay the wood on them. You got Blake Barnett, that Alabama transfer, playing for USF, who has completed 65% of his passes. He's got two pretty decent receivers in Randall St. Felix, and I don't know how to say his name, but I'm going to go with Tyree McCants. It might be Tyre. I'm doubting it's Tyre. But you also have, what's his name, Cronkite in the backfield, who had 302 yards rushing last week. So these guys are no slouch. 7 points on the road on a primetime game. Charlie Strong's got these boys playing good, and yes, they are 2-3 against the spread, but when they do cover, they cover mightily. Let's see. This may be, in my opinion, this may be the last game that USF has that's kind of a cupcake. But you know what? I'd like to see them, anytime I can see them still win but not cover the spread, I like it. So 7.5 points or 7, depending on where you find it. If you like Tulsa, grab it at the 7.5. If you like USF, maybe buy the hook and go down to 7, or wait until you can find it at 7. I'm going to say this is 31-27.
All right, yeah. Which
USF
calls
wins
for the under, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 30-27.
Okay, similar, yeah. Okay, and the last game on Friday of great merit, Utah is hosting Arizona. And Utah is a 14-point favorite, depending on where you look. Opened up at 14. Currently, some live action at 13.5. 60% of the money going towards the Wildcats getting the points.
Yeah, give me the Wildcats in this one. I think Utah's very good, but I don't think they can cover the full 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm going to say that beating Stanford last week is going to play in the eyes of the public bettors. Utah was able to beat Stanford last week 40-20. I think the big road upset was huge.
Yeah.
But we bet numbers here, and I think that number may be a little overinflated due to that game.
Realistically, I could see this line right around 11 or 10.5, something like that. Yeah,
I think the Utes still control their destiny as far as getting into the Pac-12 championship. Probably not getting into the playoff. Let's just be honest here, but it's still nice, something to play for. Khalil Tate. Okay. Let's cool the jets on the Heisman talk. I think his Heisman chances are all but gone. But Kevin Sumlin's Wildcats been playing some defense this year.
Yes, they have.
Only given up about 25 points a game, which I know in the NFL sounds crazy, but in
college,
in the
that's pretty
Pac-12,
good.
It's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Obviously, you have a defense in Utah. I mean, this game could go under. Utah is first in passing defense, rushing defense, defensive efficiency, and second in scoring in the Pac-12, averaging 17.2.
Yeah.
So let's see. What's the total on this game?
51.5.
51.5.
I say this goes under, but barely.
Yeah, this could be fun. This could be a fun defensive battle.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm saying like 27-20 or something around there.
going to say it stays right near the number. I'll take the Utah to cover by exactly 14 points. I think it's going to go like 31-17, something like that. I think it's going to stay. I think it's going to stay right next to both the numbers.
Oh, okay.
So it really is a hashtag. It could go either way in this spot. But I think if I can catch this number at 13.5 and feel better,
take Utah.
I take Utah in that spot. They're better at home than they are on the road, and they're pretty good on the road. So
Yeah.
this game will be on late night. So if you need something to chase on Friday night, other than your alcohol, Arizona-Utah might be a fun matchup to watch.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was a little bit of the betting aspect. Let's get into some actual. Let's get into some sports talk, because this one is mostly our sports talk show. Our Saturdays are NCAA picks. Our Sundays are NFL picks. Our Monday shows are recap. So we don't really talk too much, just sports in general. We're going to start in the NFL though, because who can't stop talking about the NFL right now. And we have 2 5-0 teams, which debunked my bold prediction of last week on the show. I said that one of those teams would not be 5-0. I actually thought it was going to be the Rams, and boy, they gave a solid effort in not being 5-0.
Yes. I think Seattle played down to what they needed to keep this game close, if not give themselves a shot.
Well, they had a great shot of winning that game.
Yeah.
All right, well, nevertheless, they did not. So let's take a look at the Rams. And they've got some decent teams left on their schedule. I mean, they have the Chiefs, so if they both get to that point undefeated, something's got to give at that point, unless they somehow fucking tie, because that's plausible in the NFL nowadays. Let's look ahead at the next couple of weeks. You got the Broncos this week. You got the 49ers the next week. You got the Packers the following week. And then you have at the Saints. So the next 3 games, actually, if you include the Seahawks game, 4 out of 5 of the games that they've already played and are going to play are on the road. Mm-hmm. And that's tough. And I understand you get to come home, have a little home cooking, and then go back out. But going on the road for basically a month is tough on any team, especially a team that now is down Brandon Cooks.
Yeah,
potentially.
That's a big hit for them, for sure. That mean wide receiver. Yeah, they need to have the other one step it up and get them back on the mindset of tearing up other teams.
Yeah, they still have Robert Woods, who's playing pretty well. They still have Cooper Kupp, who's everybody's little favorite West Coast scat white boy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Is that racist? I can say that because I'm white, right?
Seems legit.
But Todd Gurley already with 7 touchdowns on the year.
That's not too much of a surprise.
Right. He's going to be used more. He's got to be used more. I understand. We've played 5 games, and he has 101 rushing attempts, which, yes, that averages out to 20 a game. Yes, I get that.
That's pretty average for a lead.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I kind of found a little bit interesting, and this is probably because they've actually been comfortably ahead in a lot of these games. I mean, you look at 34-0 against the Cardinals. They were comfortably ahead against the Raiders in the second half. They were at a barn burner with the Vikings.
Yeah.
But Gurley's only got 25 targets on the year, too, so he's averaging 5 targets a game through the aerial attack, which I would have thought was more, considering, he's got 19 catches, 230 yards. If Brandon Cooks misses significant time, Jared Goff, have to trust Todd Gurley more than I feel like I can trust Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods.
Absolutely, and they've got to look for Gurley to keep that defense off the field and give them a little rest.
Moving the chains, yeah. I mean, he's running at a 4.1 clip right now, which is basically the league average. Mm-hmm. But I feel like as much as Gurley has done now, I mean, look at last week, he got 3 touchdowns on the ground. I feel like Gurley's got to step it up.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I mean, you're going into Denver. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
49ers, you're probably going to win that game, but what's your mindset going to be if you've already lost to Denver at this point? I mean, I don't see them losing to Denver currently. What's that line right now? You look that up while I'm talking here. I mean, the Broncos, I would imagine it's probably 4.5 to 5, maybe 6 in that spot.
7 currently.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
Then I kind of like the Denver Broncos in that spot. I would say
it opened at 6.5. It's currently at 7.
So I mean, you're talking about a team that's got to do better, and they're 5-0. I don't know. I'm not challenging them to anything. It just feels like you have at the Broncos. Okay, that's this week. That could be a tough matchup. That could take a lot out of you, even if you still win that game. You may have essentially, I don't want to say essentially a bye. The 49ers still play hard. Mm-hmm. Shanahan's got them playing hard. They're basically, if you look at the 49ers right now, they're in the exact same spot they were a year ago.
Yeah.
They have the same essential team. Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't there yet. And last year the 49ers were able to hang with the Rams. Tough. They weren't going to be able to win. So while that's not a complete bye week, it's not the easiest game. There's no easy games in the NFL. Then you go home and you have the Packers, who at that point in time may be in desperation mode.
Yes, and especially after this week's loss to the Lions, shockingly.
Yeah. And then you have the Saints in the Superdome.
That's never an easy game.
No, I mean, look what they just did to the Redskins. I know the Redskins aren't the Rams, but look what they just did. I mean,
the Redskins aren't too shabby.
They're not too shabby. They had a defensive anomaly. And then you come back home and play the Seahawks. I mean, I could go on. Then you come back home and play the Seahawks on the 11th. And then you have the Chiefs at home on Monday Night Football before your bye week.
Yeah, that's going to be the game to look forward to for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they got to find a way to get through that stretch, because coming out of the bye week, they then have 2 on the road against the Lions and the Bears, which, no slouches.
Yeah.
Both teams looking like they could actually win that division. And that division might be up for grabs.
Yes.
And then you have Eagles and Cardinals. Eagles, what are we going to get? I don't know. But that game will be on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Cardinals, you'll probably get another win, and 49ers. So if they can realistically, sacrifice 3 losses, I mean, the question is they're going to be fine in the NFC West. It's playoff position. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at, okay, so let me just go down the line and just quick, no thinking, just bang, W or L. At Broncos.
Win, but barely.
49ers.
Win and probably cover, unless if it's a ridiculous spread.
Versus Packers.
Versus Packers. Should be a win, but if Green Bay's in desperation mode, Green Bay probably covers, if not wins that game, if they're in desperation mode.
All right, you got at Saints.
At Saints, probably a loss.
Seahawks at home.
Should win this time around.
Chiefs
pretty comfortably. I'm marking that down as probably a struggle, close game, game-ending field goal by the Chiefs.
At Lions, at Bears.
Win against the Lions, lose against the Bears.
All right, we'll scrap the rest of the schedule. But so you have 3 losses in that spot. You have 2.5 losses. You said Chiefs is 50-50. Saints is probably a loss. One of the losses to the Bears and the Lions on the road. I mean, so I would say even 50-50 with the Packers, depending on what kind of defense they can play. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at 4 losses potentially in that spot, maybe 1 versus the Eagles. That probably puts you a division winner, but does 11-5? There's a difference between 11-5 and 12-4, I think, in bye weeks and having to play a wild card game.
Yes, there is, especially with how all the other NFC teams are doing and all that.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, anything can happen. We're just speculating on one team right now.
12-4 should get you by 11-5 might, but might not.
That's the thing. 11-5. I mean, look in 2008, 11-5 got you home out of the playoffs against if you're in Matt Castle and New England Patriots. So
yeah.
I mean, let's look at teams. I mean, who's realistically right now? I mean, you got the Bears 3-1, Saints 4-1, Panthers 3-1. I mean, all you need is 2 of those teams. What's going to happen in the NFC East? I don't know. I mean, the Redskins are leading it at 2-2 right now. I'd say for now we put the NFC East on the back burner. They got their own problems. The whole freaking division lost last week.
Yeah.
I mean, the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings both 2-2. One right now is trending up, and one right now is trending down, even though they're both 500 football right now.
Yes.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. All you need is 2 of those teams realistically to finish ahead of you, and like I said, 11-5 might be making you play wild card weekend, which, as much as people will tell you, you don't want to rest too much, football players want the rest.
Yeah, you need that rejuvenation and that home time for you. And
you need a week of everybody else beating everybody else up. So
yeah, it's a lot of physical endurance as well as everybody's just trying to play balls out because you lose, you go home for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's true too. All right, let's talk about the Chiefs a little bit because they're the other 5-0 team, and they are going to the Patriots this week, Sunday Night Football. Everybody's just loving the Patriots, so much so that the Patriots are a 3.5-point favorite right now against a 5-0 team. This is the only 5-0 team in the last decade that has been an underdog in a game.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to think about. New England's looking pretty sharp this time of year for sure. Like Spike says, it's always slow going in September no matter what. And now they have a true test in front of them.
The last two regular season games I remember, Patriots Chiefs were Chiefs blowouts. Now, the last game wasn't a blowout. It was 42-28, I think. They blew the fourth quarter. Obviously the X factor is Patrick Mahomes. That's an easy one to really dial up. That's low-hanging fruit. Right now, I don't know. Who would you take right now spot on 3.5 points?
Gun to my head, I'd probably take New England at home.
See, the thing is you don't got to put a gun to your head.
I know.
But, look at this. They've at Chargers covered, at Steelers covered, at Broncos. Depending on what line you got, they covered or didn't cover. Mm-hmm. And their two home games, they haven't had a sweat. The Broncos, yes, that was a sweat, but they still came out and Mahomes won that game. The Patriots, to me, right now aren't such the juggernaut. I feel like with a 5-0 team, you got to give me the 3.5 points. I'm going to take my lumps and be wrong about it if I am, but a 5-0 team, Brady's got to be on point. Brady's got to be on point with this offense because their defense can't stop anybody in terms of Kansas City.
Yeah. What New England has to do to pretty much cover and win this game is they got to mix in the running game a lot more and be positive about it.
Sonny Michel's look nice this year.
Yeah. They've got to look good while doing it, too.
So I'm thinking about making a play in my 14-point teaser that I do every week and making Kansas City 17.5 points. Dogs. That's got to cover, right?
It should.
That's the beauty of betting. You make a bet and you're like, it's got to cover, right?
Yeah.
So I'll have that 17-point or 14-point teaser out probably later on to the start of the games. But let's take a look. If the Patriots beat the Chiefs, then the Chiefs are at 5-1, and then you have Bengals, Broncos, Browns, Cardinals, Rams, setting up that showdown we talked about. If the Chiefs happen to get by, I think they got a really good shot at being close to 10-0 at that point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
10-0 heading into the freaking Rams game. Can you imagine if the Rams and Chiefs were both 10-0?
That'd be insane.
That'd be a fun game, wouldn't it? 10-0, Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football is looking for action games. They've got a lot of games that people get bored on. That would be a hell of a game.
Yeah.
A lot of eyeballs on that one.
Yeah, it'd be like the Rams-Vikings Thursday night game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's true. But, all right, so you're taking the Patriots in that spot, so that kind of defeats the question I was going to ask you, is who loses first? I'm guessing you're going to say the Chiefs lose first then.
I would say the Chiefs lose first out of this.
Fair.
I don't know, maybe they both could lose this week. Denver desperately needs the victory.
Well, if they both lose, then technically the Rams lose first, right?
Yes.
They play at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, they play at 1:05.
They could both lose this week. I think Denver's got a game that they have to get up for at this point because the AFC West, if Kansas City does win that game, the AFC West for a 2-4 Denver team is pretty much done.
Yeah, they would be happy to sneak in at 9-7 in the playoffs.
But then they got LA. They got LA right in front of them too. It feels weird calling them LA. But they got the Chargers. They still got to play the Chargers twice. They got those. They're going to be in front of them.
The Clippers.
The Clippers, yeah. Problem is your defense in 5 games has given up 131 points, and your offense is not catching up. Your offense has barely given up 100 or barely scored 100. So
yeah, that's not good.
All right, well, defeats my question of who's going to lose first. You say the Chiefs.
Chiefs are more liable to lose this week than the Rams are.
Oh, I would agree with that as well too.
But I wouldn't be horribly shocked if both went down.
No, that's true too. Gun to my head, give me the plus 3.5 points right now. That could change by the time our NFL pick show goes, but gun to my head, give me the 3.5 points with an undefeated 5-0 team at that spot. So, all right. Well, another team who's in the mix for playoff positioning in the AFC is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and my first-round pick in fantasy in one of my leagues, Leonard Fournette, has been virtually a dumpster fire at this point.
Oh, yeah, same here. I took Fournette first in my fantasy league, and, yeah, he's spent more time on the bench pretty much.
So, that being said, the Jaguars decided to go out and kick the tires and ultimately sign Jamaal Charles. Does that matter? Does that do anything for them? I feel like they were doing okay without him. I mean, he's a vastly different player than
Fournette.
Yeah, than Leonard Fournette. Obviously, this is a sign that Leonard Fournette may be out a little bit.
Yeah, that's sure what it sounds like. I don't know, maybe they're just looking for somebody that will get them some W's right now, and maybe Fournette comes back later this year and gets his role back, or maybe if Jamaal Charles has proven himself pretty worthy of the position, they keep him on.
I mean, if there's serious problems with Leonard Fournette, the Jags have a bye week 9, I believe. I mean, at this point, I feel like you just sit him until then. Mm-hmm. Why rush this guy back? TJ Yeldon's doing pretty good, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I thought so, too.
I mean, I'm not saying that Jamaal Charles is going to snipe carries. I mean, obviously he'll take some touches away. But I feel like with Leonard Fournette out, Corey Grant out, you only have Yeldon. It just seemed weird to go after a 31-year-old running back.
Maybe they just wanted somebody like on 3rd and shorts or something, kind of bigger guy. And
kind of bigger guy than not Jamaal Charles. Jamaal Charles is a little scat back.
He's got some power, though.
Yeah. I mean, last year he had 70 carries, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, added 23 catches for 129 yards. So he did average 4.9 yards on the ground, which, I mean, if you can get 5 yards of carry out of a back, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that Fournette's got a hamstring injury. That's going to be a problem long term. So I think you shut Fournette down. Jamaal Charles is your lightning to TJ Yeldon's thunder. Problem is, if TJ Yeldon goes down, I don't think Jamaal Charles can be a regular guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at 31 years old, let's look at his stats. I mean, I know that he's got some.
He has a career average of 5.4 yards per carry.
Right, but over the 2 years before Denver, he played half a season total. He played 8 games. So you figure 14, 17, 22. Over the last 3 years, he's played a little over a season, about a season and a quarter, a little over that. So even though as a 31-year-old running back, he may not have the usage, because in 2011, he played 2 games. You know, there's a lot of situational stats here that kind of say that Jamaal Charles may not be a 31-year-old running back, but he does have an ACL tear too.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing to be worrisome about signing him. That could easily get re-torn or even worse.
Well, the problem is that who they play? Dallas next week?
Yes.
Dallas got a pretty decent defense. I mean, that's when you. How much do you open up the playbook for Jamaal Charles this week?
Minimally, I think. I think you put him in a few plays, but you let Yeldon do most of the work.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, we'll see. We'll see what kind of impact Jamaal Charles has for the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, let's move on from football. Let's talk about UCF 229. I know we don't talk a lot of UCF. Let's talk about UFC 229. We'll get the producer to cut that out. Let's talk about UFC 229 and kind of the aftermath. Did you watch the fight at all?
I did not, but I was working on the strip when this was going on, and Sonny, from our buddy from Canada, texted me. He's like, "Oh, there's a brawl down at T-Mobile."
That's what I heard. I heard all the wannabe fighters were all kind of getting into some shit.
Yeah, and you know how nuts those fans even get too. So
yeah, especially But I mean, did you? Obviously, I'm sure you've seen the replay by now. I've seen the replay. The brawl.
Yeah.
the fallout, realistically, is nothing's really happened yet. Everybody wanted Nurmagomedov to be stripped of his title. Dana White said that's not going to be happening, at least in the UFC. The Nevada State Athletic Commission could do something about it, but he highly doubts that anything's going to happen. My favorite thing is that in the press conference, Khabib, or the one after the whole thing went down, he's like, I apologize for initiating a riot. And then he's like, I didn't think anybody cared about what I do. And it's like, you jumped over the fucking crowd. You jumped over the fence and launched yourself into the crowd at his team. And your guys, which we assumed that that's who they were, attacked Conor McGregor. Whether you like Conor McGregor or not, that's just uncalled for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely the NSAC is looking into this and filing formal complaints against both for their post-fight actions.
Yeah, so, I mean, initial thoughts, Conor's basically tried to retire at this point. I have a hard time believing Dana White's going to let him break his contract, go box, go make a bunch of money, come back, sign a contract, and then let him walk away without getting his money from this guy, from Conor McGregor.
Absolutely, yeah. Dana White's smarter than that, for sure. I mean, if he fights again, there might be a rematch, but it might be more security all around the octagon. So,
yeah, well, some would say that's what you get for calling Khabib's dad a quivering coward.
I'm sure he's been called worse, but
yeah, well, I have to admit though, like, you had that quiet, just that sting. It was like all those press conferences, Khabib was like just very quiet while McGregor talked and showboated and gave all of his antics.
Yeah, he was like how he was against Floyd boxing.
Yeah, he just did the same thing. Well, Floyd and Conor was on a whole different scale, but
yeah.
Nurmagomedov, Khabib was just not buying into it. But then it was like the minute after he submitted him, it was like all hell, just completely broke loose. Just
the demon came out.
It was like he had just reached. I mean, it's cool because, I mean, nothing wrong with that. You want to make sure you complete the mission that you set out to complete, which was beating Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, kaboom.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to look back at the whole bus situation I think it was in Brooklyn, when McGregor, trashed Khabib's bus, broke the windows. I mean, it extends all the way back from that. And McGregor, nothing happened to McGregor with that. I mean, he basically committed crimes, assaults, and UFC did nothing about it. And I would think at this spot, if they come down on Khabib legally, I think that would be a vastly wrong double standard at that point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, you have UFC's probably golden boy, Conor McGregor, getting off scot-free, and then Khabib brawling at this point. Even McGregor was involved in this at some point too. And you're going to file actions against Khabib.
I know you're not a big UFC guy. I used to be a long time ago, and to me, I've actually kind of whittled off watching it because I feel like it's gotten so much more WWF or WWE style. Mm-hmm. It's kind of turned me off a little bit. And it really, at some point, sometimes I even question the legit, or what's the word I'm looking for? I even question some of the legitimacy of these fights sometimes, that they're not staged a little bit.
No, I can agree with that.
Because in this spot, sure. I mean, Dana White can come on the press conference post and say all these things about, Khabib, what he did, blah, blah, blah. But inside he's just going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're talking about UFC probably being the biggest take in UFC history. And it's got to be because of all of this bullshit. I mean, Conor McGregor sells tickets. I get it. I'm fine with that. But how far do you go? I mean, I don't think Khabib was there to sell tickets. I think Khabib was there to fight. He let him do his talking, and then he beat the fucking shit out of him. Well, I don't beat he submitted him, but
I mean,
he beat him.
Yeah.
Call it what it is. He beat him. I just feel like ever since the UFC was sold, they're using it as a platform for social, celebrity status more so than a fighting. I mean, you look at. I mean, they have to do something. I mean, look who's gone. John Jones is gone. Ronda Rousey's gone. George St. Pierre's gone. Ken Shamrock's gone. Connor was gone for a while. You just have so many guys. Spider Silva's gone. Chris Weidman's gone. I mean, everybody who was any kind of draw is virtually gone at this point.
Yeah, pretty much the only name that most people know is Conor McGregor right now. So.
Right, so they're holding on to a guy who knows that he can pretty much do whatever he wants, win or loss.
Yeah. Because
half the field's rooting for him to win at all costs, and half the field's looking for him to lose at all costs. So basically, you can do whatever you want because your reign is divided 50-50 if you're Conor McGregor.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So, anyways, it'll make up for hopefully an interesting rematch. They'll probably proclaim something here. I know they were talking about stripping the title from Nurmagomedov, which they've already came out and said that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it should happen.
But I think Conor will have to go fight another guy
beforehand.
Tony Johnson, and then if the winner of that one will get a fight spot. I think Conor will probably win that one. Just if we're looking at trying to predict a storyline, I think he'll probably win that one. So.
Yeah, that would make a good story for the rematch.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit of hockey before we go into baseball. And we've got 1 week in the books, pretty much 1 week. Couple of things kind of out of the gate, been fun, been interesting. Couple of expectations have been shattered. Let's start with we don't want to start with the Knights. Let's start with the Hurricanes. Getting out to a hot start so far. I believe they are 3-0, 3-0-1 at this point.
That is correct. Leaders of the Metro currently.
Leaders of the Metro. It's a long season, but yeah. Leaders of the Metro with 7 points is a good start for sure.
Yes.
Teams just playing good hockey. I've actually watched 2 of their games. I watched last night or 2 nights ago against Vancouver, and just been playing pretty good hockey. A lot of their young stars are kind of formulating. Svechnikov is coming up. Teravainen's obviously a young star who came over from Chicago. Just been a good, solid team playing team hockey, and their defense has been okay. Their goaltending has been okay.
Yeah. They definitely have a lot of good speed as well as good, solid defense.
It's funny because when we did our fantasy draft, I accidentally input Hayden Fleury, defenseman for Carolina, in for Marc-Andre for Desiree when she drafted him. And now it looks like she may want Hayden Fleury over Marc-Andre. Yeah. That might be what she is interested in doing at this point. I texted her the other day, and I was like, hey, Hayden Fleury is still available. He had an assist the other night. But, you look at it, the Metro's kind of flipped on its head right now with the exception of obviously there's not a lot of games, except for the Rangers. They're still in kind of a rebuild mode. But Carolina, Islanders, and Columbus, at this point, 3 games in plus, are leading the East, leading the Metro. Mm-hmm. The Islanders without John Tavares, who everybody said would be a dumpster fire, which, again, I'm going to put a disclaimer on the rest of this talk that we talk, and just know this, it is early, so what we say is, take it with a grain of salt. But yes, the Islanders are 2-1. They've got 4 points in 3 games.
Yeah, they're not looking too shabby at all, but like you said, it's the beginning of the year. A lot of teams are still rusty at this point, including the good teams.
It just seems weird to me. You've got Carolina who's played 4 games, and I understand that over the course of the schedule it'll even out. But then you have a team like Tampa Bay, you have a team like Florida who've played 1 game against each other.
Yeah, that's
in a week.
Really odd.
They played against each other. Tampa Bay got the win. Florida got the OTL. It's just. I understand the schedule, but I just started noticing that only because this is our first year of playing fantasy hockey.
And New Jersey's got 1 game as well.
Yeah, New Jersey with the 1 game. So it's just kind of an interesting. How one team's played 4, one team's played 1. So I don't know if that's a scheduling issue or how that all works, but I just started noticing that realistically in fantasy hockey. So, but speaking of Tavares, we talked about, he did have a hat trick in his 2nd game, which so far those two top lines in Toronto look pretty solid. They are 3-1 right now, 6 points, tops of the Atlantic. Yeah, they've shown the ability to score. I think their overs hitting every game too.
I believe so, yeah. 7-6, 7-4, 7-5 or something like that, too.
They won 7-4 a couple nights ago against Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah, the opening game they won, I think, 7-6 over, what was it, Washington?
No, it wasn't Washington, but they won their opener, I think, against
that was Pittsburgh.
Ottawa or something.
Yeah.
anyways, they've been able to score some damn goals. Toronto and Chicago was like 7-6 the other day in overtime too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Knights, and they've been struggling obviously out of the gate. They're 1-2. Their one win against Minnesota, they had to grind and come back in the third period for. And then they lost to Buffalo just recently as well. They've got 2 points in 3 games. If you ask the fans around here in Vegas, the sky is falling. And again, disclaimer, early in the season. But I'd be willing to lean more based on what I've seen. The sky might be falling.
Could be easily, yeah. I mean, they need a lot of work, a lot of moves with their chemistry and all that, it seems like.
Well, defense is a problem. Obviously, Nate Schmidt's out. Merrill's terrible. Nick Holden may not be the addition that they thought he would be. Well, without a defense, Fleury's going to have problems. That's the way Fleury's always been.
Yeah.
I realistically think the problem is that no one really wants to say it, just based on what I've seen. When you have that many guys who have career years all in one situation or all in one setting,
you're going to have a downfall.
When it regresses to what their mean is, even if it regresses to above their mean, it's still a downfall. I mean, Carlson getting 43 goals. He has 0 so far. He doesn't even really have any real shot at. I mean, he doesn't really have any real shots on goal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has been. I wouldn't say struggling. I wouldn't say this team's struggling. I mean, they're in games, with the exception of the Philadelphia game. They just got blown away.
Yeah,
but I mean, they're playing good defense. They're playing good defense in the front. They've got no lack of shots. Stastny, who's now hurt, was playing well. Stastny and Pacioretty, everybody else is ready to fucking write them off. They're playing fine. The team just has a couple of things they need to get back in together. Schmidt needs to come back. Obviously, that's not happening for 17 more games.
Yeah.
I just think there's just too much expectation with it. I think that's the problem with the struggle. I think there's just too much expectation. They're 1-2. Just calm down. But at the same time, if you have a team like Anaheim, who's now 3-0. You have Calgary, who's playing better. You have San Jose, who we all know what they have. They're 2-2 right now, but they have the ability to just go on a long streak. Los Angeles, they're okay. Edmonton, what are we going to get out of them? We don't know. We may get the same thing out of them that we got last year. Right now, they've only played 1 game, so it's hard to really tell. I think we're safe against Vancouver and Arizona right now. Arizona's still looking for their first goal of the season.
Yeah.
But I would say don't panic, but in the Pacific Division, it could get dicey. I mean, yes, 5 teams could make it, but there's a lot of good teams in the Central, too, especially with Chicago and Dallas leading, and Winnipeg and Nashville currently
not too far behind.
Not too far behind. You got Minnesota is another good team. St. Louis, they haven't won yet, but they're not a bad team. Colorado probably will miss the playoffs, but
they could be in
the Western Conference has 10, 11 good teams, and only 8 of them can make the playoffs. So.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely the Pacific Division's improved, and as well as the Central. Both sides of the divisions have improved from the bottom to the top half.
All right, let's play a little game.
Yeah.
Bovada just recently released their top 10 odds their odds of coaches getting fired, or who's going to be fired first. Who do you think leads that list?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, say Guy Boucher.
Guy Boucher?
Yeah.
That's probably a good one, considering they're in a full-scale rebuild at this point. You are close. He is second on the list at 12-5.
Okay.
Bovada's list right now, the top 9 guys on the roster are Todd McClellan with the Oilers, which they may do that early. That might be a good bet. Joel Quenneville with the Blackhawks, which obviously, given their start, he's probably on hold. Your boy, Jeff Blashill.
That wouldn't be too much of a shocker.
He's currently 19-2 right now. Randy Carlyle with the Ducks.
That'd be a little
bit of a shocker in my opinion. I could see him getting fired after the season, but the first coach to be fired, I don't know about that. Bob Bugner with the Panthers. If they fire him, you can get 20-1 on your money if he's the first coach fired. Don't see that coming just yet, but we saw what the Panthers did with Gallant when he was actually doing pretty decent things. I think the Panthers are going to make the playoffs this year.
Okay.
You got Hackstall with the Flyers at 31, Mike Yao with the Blues at 30-1. Mike Yao was actually the last coach, I believe, to be named a head coach midseason after another guy got fired, which I believe was Ken Hitchcock. And then you have Mike Babcock with the Maple Leafs at 66-1. That's an interesting one, considering, you let Mike Babcock kind of take reign of this team for so long, and then finally when he gets to put the pieces together, you're gonna ship him out of town. I mean, that seems like a long shot to me, but knowing Toronto and knowing Toronto fans, that'd be an interesting one to take at 66-1.
Yeah, I see decent value there, but I realistically don't see them the first pick.
Not the way they can score. There's definitely no shortage of freaking goals at that point, so I don't disagree with you on that. Last thing before we get to Chris and baseball. We haven't talked about the Penguins yet, and losing their goalie indefinitely with concussions hurt.
Oh, by far. I mean, Murray was good. I mean, he wasn't outstandingly good, but, I mean, it's definitely going to take a big hit on Pittsburgh for sure.
Yeah, see, I thought that initially. I mean, Matt Murray, obviously, you look at face value, he's got the 2 cups, but he was hurt a lot last year, too, and I think that led to the ability to get Tristan Jarry, Casey DeSmith, and Zach Aston Reese, or not Zach Aston Reese, just Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith time to develop at the position in the big leagues. And obviously they're going to start with DeSmith, but at the same time, they got Jarry as well. I think they got 3 good goalies in the system, so I think as long as the offense continues, if they can, to be good, I think they've got pretty decent goaltending still to keep them in the Metropolitan Division. Especially, like we said, how long can Carolina, New York, and Columbus really sustain this? I mean, hopefully for Carolina, I have a futures bet on Carolina. Hopefully for a while.
Yeah.
But, you look for Pittsburgh to really be there, and I think their goaltending is good enough. I mean, Matt Murray, before he went down, he's given up 11 goals in 2 games. So
yeah.
At that point,
can't be much worse.
Obviously,
than that.
you want the guy in the net who has the experience, but he can't do much. Yeah, you're right. You can't do much worse than that. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, their next game is going on currently when this airs against the Penguins. Or against the Knights.
Against the Penguins. Yeah, they'll be playing the Knights tonight. So, all right, and we teased it before on the episode, and we will tease it no longer. It is Chris Moon. He is back. We're talking baseball. And Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Just waking up.
I took a listen to last week's episode, and I gotta say I'm pretty happy.
Wait, were you one of the 15 people that listened to that?
Was it 15? We're ticking up.
Oh, okay, good.
But I have to say I'm happy for you. You got 3 out of 4 into the LCS.
Yes.
3 out of 4 in the LCS.
Pretty.
Brewers, Sox, and
good.
Astros.
Yeah. I'm loving it. I mean, last night's game, the Sox. Very happy to see them close it out last night. Big matchup with the Astros coming up, of course. I did say the Astros. I said the Red Sox. Excuse me, to win it all. I'm still going there, and of course the Brewers. Gotta love the Brewers over the Dodgers.
Yeah, let's talk about the Astros and the Brewers, because they were the 2 teams that actually, even though the other series only went 4, they actually swept their opponent and looked pretty dominating doing it. Is that kind of a good or a bad thing? In baseball we talk about momentum. You talk about getting rest. What's the good and or the bad for these teams to basically get through with their first round opponents so early?
Well, I think it's really good for the Astros. There's no weaknesses there. Everybody basically got a little rest. Their bullpen gets reset. Their rotation reset. Alex Bregman has really proven that he is a superstar. Not that I didn't know that already, but I don't think all of America really understood how good this kid is. As far as resetting their rotation now, I mean, everybody's rested.
Right.
it doesn't hurt at all. Red Sox, they had a tough series with the Yankees, except for of course the 16-1 win, which was fantastic. But yeah, gotta love it, man. It was just ran into some Yankee fans over at Harrah's and had to just give them some shit about it.
Right on. All right, let's take a look at these matchups individually and put your tickets aside. I know you got futures bets on 3 out of 4 teams. You don't have a futures bet on the Dodgers. They are currently going off as a series favorite of -150. The Brewers are +130. Put your ticket aside and kind of objectively look at what the key matchups or the key X factors are for the Dodgers and then the Brewers.
For the Dodgers and Brewers, well, Clayton Kershaw, he looks like he is Clayton Kershaw now. He got over his struggles in the playoffs in that first round. So the pitching matchups definitely favor the Dodgers. Definitely. The lineups, I still really like the Brewers lineup against this matchup, against the Dodgers. However, I believe the Dodgers won 4 out of 7 against them, and I don't think it was even close when you break down the runs differential between the two teams and the heads up. Dodgers, the class of the league, and most of the star players are on the Dodgers, of course.
Right.
Christian Yelich, in my opinion, will win the National League MVP. All year long, the Brewers really have been overlooked, even in that division with the Cubs and Cardinals. It's going to be a close series. I said the Brewers earlier, and I'm still sticking with the Brewers, but, the Dodgers, they have the pedigree. They have guys that have done it.
Right.
Maybe not in the postseason, as I told you about with Kershaw earlier, but he looks like he is dialed in. So it's going to be a great series. It really is.
Yeah, he looks like a lot of pressure seems to be off him. I mean, even before that 8-inning shutout performance, it seemed like he went out there, kind of took it to the quote-unquote haters, as many would say, and just said, look, I'm going to throw like I throw, and if things go good, great. If things don't go good, then, no real pressure. But, in that spot, I mean, I would say in a spot, with the Brewers getting the plus money, you got to look for the magic there. But the Dodgers, you're right, they do have probably a quality lineup, both pitching and in the at the box to probably contend with this Brewers team. Plus, they get the home field advantage. Or no, they don't get the home field advantage in the spot, do they?
No, they don't.
The Brew crew does. Actually, I think that adds a little bit of value to the Brewers in that spot.
Yes.
Because I was looking at the 150, and I was like, well, man, but I forgot. You're right. The Brewers had the best record in the National League. So
it opened up at -130, +110, and because I have the futures on the Brewers, I wanted to sort of hedge. Since I didn't hedge the first series with the Brewers, I went ahead and I hedged a little bit off, but I did not get it at -130. It went from 130 to 140 overnight, and now it's at 150 at the Westgate. And I don't know if it's -150 at William Hill, but last I checked, it was -140. So I had to, I had to take a little bit out, hedge it. Hopefully, we get the Brewers all the way through. But
Fair enough.
Yeah. I see on William Hill it's -150 now. So.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Astros and Red Sox series?
Wow, the Astros are just so complete. And I think we talked offline about, I had said, the Astros bullpen, and they have Brad Peacock, and either you or somebody I was talking to said, well, they left him off the roster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that is insane that, they leave a quality pitcher like Peacock off their postseason roster, and they don't miss a beat. The lineup is so strong. It's a deeper. I now think it's a deeper 1-9 lineup than the Red Sox, because the Red Sox,
they're all healthy now. Yeah,
they're healthy. I don't like Jackie Bradley in the lineup other than defensively. The Astros 1-9, there's not an easy out.
Yeah. You got a couple in the Sox lineup, the catcher and Jackie Bradley is struggling.
Vasquez and Bradley, are just they're holes. The Astros starting rotation when you're just going 1, 2, 3 are better than the Red Sox. It's going to be a great series. The Sox getting the home field advantage, that's the equalizer in that, but the lineups and the rotation have got to favor Houston. It should go a full 7 in this series. It really should.
Who you got?
I'm sticking with the Sox, man.
All right.
I can't flip flop.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So according to Chris, the Commish Moon, we've got Brewers and Sox in the World Series at that spot. That makes for pretty decent TV. It does put we got a couple seconds here. It does put Hader on a national stage after everything that's gone on with him.
I think he's fine.
Fair enough.
I do.
Fair enough. All right, Chris. Well, we'll have to talk to you next week after the series are done. You got Brewers. You got the Sox advancing to the World Series. And, we appreciate you waking up, dusting off the old stat sheet and giving us a little bit of your time.
Yep. Alrighty.
All right, man.
I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. See you.
All right, peace out.
And that was Chris Moondog Moon, Chris the Commish Moon, whatever he's going by these days. I know he likes Chris the Commish Moon at this spot because he does his fantasy football commissioner stuff.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Really? I mean, who do you like? I know, who did we talk about last week? I think you had the Rockies going.
Yeah, I had the Rockies.
All right, so now you had the Dodgers, right?
I had the Dodgers winning, yeah.
You had the Sox, and I think you had the Astros. So you got 3 out of 4 right. So now you get to I'll let you re-pick.
I'll take Sox Dodgers in this one. I think the Dodgers will advance on from Milwaukee. It will be a struggle of a series for both teams. In this mindset, I could see both these series going 7 games.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I mean, especially I think obviously when you're the team with not the home field advantage, you got to win one on the road. I think with 2 good matchups with Ryu and Kershaw, I can see the Dodgers getting one of those games in Milwaukee.
Yes. My predictions: Dodgers in 7, Red Sox in 6.
Red Sox clinch on the road, eh?
Yeah, I just think Red Sox have that amazing hitting, and Houston's kind of shown themselves to struggle sometimes. So,
I will say I had Dodgers and Sox last week. I'll stick with Dodgers and Sox. I'll say Dodgers in 6. I think they clinch it at home.
At home.
And I'll say Sox in 5.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think Sox get the first 2 at home, get one in in Houston, and then shut it down.
I was just looking at the series prices on William Hill, and Sox are actually the underdog.
Sox are the favorite from what I saw. They were minus 115. Did it move already?
It's plus 110 now.
Oh wow! It moved just in the couple of minutes I saw it before the show.
Yeah, they probably got some huge action on.
So it's plus 110, minus 120.
Minus 130.
130.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I like the Sox in that spot. Especially since I liked them at minus 150. We're the favorite last I looked. They were minus 115, and the Astros are minus 105.
Yeah, Astros minus 130, Sox plus 110.
Wow, that moved quick.
Yeah.
Yowzers.
Yeah, I saw it earlier this morning, and then I re-looked when we were listening to Moondog over there, and
all right, well, we'll have to keep an eye on that. And after that, we want to thank Chris to Commish Moon, and we'll wrap it up there. We want to thank VGK Pop Socket, ChaiPoker.com, and obviously we want to thank the guys at 12 Ounce Sports Radio. And we appreciate you guys for listening to the podcast. Next airing will be Saturday morning with our NCAA pick. For Token Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.